Well, good evening, everyone. I am your host, Chi-Town Zone. God bless each and every one of you, and welcome to my channel. For those of you again watching for the first time, do feel free to subscribe for further updates or any breaking news if we happen to have any. And as always, I will do my very best to bring that to you again, friends. But with that being said, how many of you remember the Trump cabinet meeting Monday there at the White House, where many of his advisors and staff on his cabinet were there for a meeting shortly thereafter, where he spoke with the cameras on many things, such as the war between the Kurdish and Syrian people there, along with the whole whistleblower Adam Schiff and the possibility of Adam Schiff actually being the informant, and a host of many other things as well. But again, what many of you may have not known was what had took place prior to that meeting taking place itself. Many of you may have not known that Dr. Ben Carson was actually in that very room with President Trump at the time, and of course, President Trump asked Dr. Ben Carson, who many of you may know, it was then was actually running for the White House himself back in 2016, but shortly dropped out later on. But again, Dr. Ben Carson is an amazing doctor. He was believed to be a brain surgeon then, and he's also a man of faith and of God, and stands on his Christian values, friends. But it was, of course, President Trump again. Let me not backtrack. It was President Trump, prior to the meeting starting, asking Ben Carson, friends, to open up the meeting with prayer. And of course, Ben Carson, had no problem opening up the meeting in prayer. But again, if you want to read more into this, again, I will be leaving a link in regards to this via cnnnews.com. So with that being said, here's what the link has to say, friends. Housing and Urban Development Secretary Dr. Ben Carson said in a prayer at the opening of a cabinet meeting at the White House on Monday, pointing out that separation of church and state means the church does not dominate the state, and it means that the state does not dominate the church. But it sure means the complete opposite for these far leftist socialist Democrats, for that matter. How many of you remember it was just recently where Beto O'Rourke, once again, the same guy that wants to take away your guns, mentioned that, if he becomes president, that he's going to lift the tax exempt from churches everywhere, that if we do not accept the homosexual LGBTQ lifestyle, friends. And as many have said again, friends, that this is nothing more than pure persecution against the church and against our Christian values, friends. But again, let me not get carried away. I digress, friends. That this is another story for another time, but I don't want to get carried away and fall off onto another subject. But I'm sure many of you understand where I'm coming from. But it goes on to further read that Trump asked Carson to say grace at the beginning of the cabinet, and I believe they do have his opening prayer here, where it goes on to read, and this is Dr. Ben Carson's prayer, friends, where it goes on to read, "Our kind Father in heaven, we're so thankful for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us in this country. And we are thankful for the people of courage who have been here before us and who have fought hard for the rights of our country. And we thank you for President Trump, Donald Trump, who also exhibits great courage in the face of constant criticism. And we ask that you would give him strength to endure the wisdom, lead, and to recognize you as the sovereign of the Lord and the universe, with the solution to everything. And the people around the president, the vice president, the cabinet, and the advisors, give us all the understanding heart and a compassionate heart to those, are the things that will keep America great." Amen, friends. But let me not get carried away here, where it goes on to further read more. And help us all to recognize as a nation that separation of church and state means the church does not dominate the state, and it means that the state does not dominate the church. It doesn't mean that they cannot work together to promote godly principles of loving your fellow man, of caring about your neighbor, and developing your God-given talents to the utmost so that you become valuable to the people around you and having values and principles that govern your life. And if we do those things, then we will also be successful. And we thank you for hearing our prayer. In your holy name, amen. Amen to that, friends. You know, the scripture says that the prayer of the righteous availeth much, friends. And we, again, need to keep our president, our vice president, and many others of his cabinet, and our country in our prayers, friends. As we see again those on the far left, you know, trying to persecute the church, trying to persecute us not only for our beliefs, trying to persecute us, you know, because we're conservatives, and many of us are Christian conservatives who stand on the values and the beliefs of this country and stand by our Constitution, which many of those on the far left say that Trump is trying to destroy. But you see how many of them are trying to come against us and trying to silence our voices now with everything that they're pushing and everything that they stand for. And how Beto O'Rourke, you remember back at that last rally there, who said, hell yes, excuse me to those of you watching, hell yes, I'm coming for your guns. Well, at least you like to think you are, but you know, always remember, you will not tread on our rights. And you know, again, as I've said, friends, but I digress. Again, for those of you watching, please do feel free to subscribe for further updates or any breaking news if we happen to have any, again, friends, and I will do my very best to bring that to you. But again, let's continue to pray for this country, and let's continue to pray for our president, for wisdom and guidance and understanding, and I pray again, my friends, that many of you do the same. God bless.